President Barack Obama has swept up again the title of President of the United States of America, and of course beating Republican Mitt Romney. But right off the bat, he faces the issue of the fiscal cliff, which threatens the economic health of the country. And joining us for some perspective on what we're actually looking at for the United States moving forward is Francis Cornegay. He's a senior research fellow at the Institute for Global Dialogue, Brandon Sachs, trader at Avior Research, and Francois Duplessis, director at Vega Asset Management as well. Welcome to you all. Thanks so much for joining us at the desk. And perhaps, Francis, let's start off with you. I mean, we've had Obama now being re-elected as president. He sits at the helm for another 4 years. What does this mean for the U.S. economy for the next 4 years? Does it mean more of the same, slow growth, more regulation that isn't conducive to business? Because that's the kind of rhetoric we've been hearing in the run-up.
Yes, no, you're quite right, and that's what everyone is going to be looking at. One of the projections that I think, though, that has come forward as we went into the election was a sense that irrespective of who won the election, next year, going into the next year, there's a sense that the economy will pick up more momentum. And of course, this is the kind of projection that transcends politics. The fact of the matter is that the economy has begun to show more momentum in a number of sectors in terms of jobs, housing, and so forth, so that it looks that if that is sustained, then we're looking for an uptick in what we've been seeing. And of course, though, the question, though, which is where politics comes in, and that is what kind of policies can come out of Washington that will give it even more momentum.
And if we look at we forget, it's easy to forget with all the rhetoric and the wonderful cheering and so on, that there is another election going on, several other elections going on, and two of them are the Senate, which I think I saw that the Democrats had just held on to. House of Representatives, though, is Republican, so we're looking at gridlock again. Just looking, I was eyes open for and ears open for economic content in that speech. I think there were 2 bullet points during that speech. He mentioned the tax deficit, the deficit, and he mentioned tax issues. That's all. And yet there's this fiscal cliff looming. Are we just going to get more of the same? Another brinkmanship, getting to the edge where they can't agree?
Well, this is really interesting, because you see, this is an issue that spills over into the future of the Republican Party, where now we're going to see almost a civil war within the party in terms of what kind of direction it should take. You mentioned the Senate. Now, the Democrats not only held the Senate, but it looks like they're in a marginally stronger position. We don't know yet what the balance of forces is in the House. How much we did not expect the Democrats to retake the House, but we will look to see how much gains they made. Now, the one thing that could be dangerous for the Republicans is that this time, when you look towards the midterm election, if the electorate considers that they have been obstructive in moving forward on these policies, then the Republicans in the House could suffer major losses. You see, so and this will be a reversal of what is usually the trend, where the incumbent party loses during the midterm. This time, because of the ideological political dynamics, it could be the reverse.
Of course, there's also the specter of Hillary Clinton waiting to be the Democratic contender next time around.
Absolutely. Well, Francois, you know, just taking a look at some of the commentary that's come through, the United States has been labeled a possible divided states of America at this stage. I mean, just looking at how closely fought these elections were, it illustrates the kind of divide that does present itself in terms of policy and the direction that this country should be taken down moving forward. The disaster of the fiscal cliff, though, needs to be resolved with some kind of unison moving forward. It's a coming together of two sides that's actually necessary. What do you think in terms of how easy it is going to be to pass through reform that we've been talking about, like spending cuts, tax increases through all income levels?
Yeah, Alicia, last year we've seen the trailer or the preview of a possible rerun, and that was very, very severe. As a result, the United States lost its AAA credit rating. The markets reacted very, very severely to the news. I think the S&P 500 lost 6% after the S&P degrading. So I think we could see really much more cooperation between the Republicans and the Democrats this time around. And hopefully we could really see some...
We had President Obama highlight in his speech that you know, the country is not as divided as the politics may
Well,
suggest.
and of course he does say a lot of things now. I will reach out and so on. I mean, he's very good at saying those things. I think a lot of things he's been disappointed that he couldn't do because of the gridlock. Brandon, the effect on the markets. I saw a comment that if Romney came in, supposedly more free market oriented, but equities would respond badly.
Look, firstly, I think the Bucks need Obama to have a bit of a speech before their games. I think get the guys a bit chewed up there. You know, it's great at making speeches.
I mean, if we feel the excitement here, one can only imagine what's being felt on the ground.
100%. No, he makes great speeches. Look, I think Wall Street was sort of more pro Romney, but I read an article yesterday as well with them saying that, you know, by yesterday Wall Street was really pricing that Romney was going to lose and Obama was going to win. So, look, I'm a big Obama fan. I think giving him 4 more years. I'm glad they're giving him 4 more years. You know, he got given a hospital pass with everything that was going on in 2008. So I'm excited. I'm excited to see what he does with the jobs growth, GDP as well. I think it was 2% last year. I think it's just going to go from strength to strength. So.
Francis, what about his the perception of, you know, the black and white? You know, everything's seen so clear cut that Obama is anti-business, Romney is pro-business. Of course, this isn't true. No. So, are we going to see more nuance now in American politics, in the economic sphere in particular?
Well, one would hope so. And I think that's why there's going to be so much attention on what happens within the Republican Party now, because obviously in order to meet the challenge of the fiscal cliff and sustain a recovery, there's going to have to be bipartisanship. One thing that was hopeful in Romney's concession speech was that he pointedly made the point about the fact that the two parties will have to work across the aisle. And now, of course, that might tell some ideological conservatives, well, you see, that's why he really wasn't our current candidate to begin with. But the fact of the matter is that what we have to see is to what extent the two parties can come together, to what extent what lessons the Republicans draw from it, particularly those in the Senate, and see where the speaker goes with that.
Absolutely, Francois. I mean, while the skeptics have been very critical, saying that we've been looking at more of the same, more printing of money, more debt, raising taxes, and so people should be worried about 2013, should be worried about 2014 as we move forward. Others have said that the leadership that's needed is not about taking people where they want to go, it's where they need to go moving forward. Your view on comments like that?
Of paramount importance is economic growth. And we're in a scenario worldwide where there's a serious leadership deficit. And get the economic growth scenario going, we need leadership, and I think in this scenario, Obama is really committed to get that engine going. And with Bernanke staying put, that will also install great confidence.
Francis, just to finish off there, we talked to Larry, our man in Kenya, a moment earlier, and they're very pleased there because his ancestry is in Kenya. Right. But he also said that Obama spent 24 hours, I think, in Africa since he was elected 4 years ago, not at all in Kenya. What about, isn't it time, firstly, that he went back to Kenya for a bit longer? And secondly, Africa, the big growth story that we're seeing in Africa in relation to the US, are we going to be back on the map?
Well, I would hope so. I suspect so. I mean, I think it's understandable given what he was confronted with on the global landscape when he came into office, that he focused on the Middle East and Southwest Asia and East Asia, China, and so forth. It was difficult for him not to do that. At the same time, he has had a number of policies going in Africa, though at a lower profile. I would think that now he's going to have a lot more leeway to up-tempo his Africa policy, and whereas Indonesia, one of his homes, got a lot of attention and will probably continue to get some. Kenya should, and Africa, should come more into focus, particularly given the fact that Kenya, apart from his roots there, Kenya is part of the emerging African powerhouse story with the East African community now linking with SADC and COMESA, and the potential, and I would think that the U.S. Definitely wants to be a part of that story, and
definitely a part of the oil and gas story that's has recently been making headlines off the East Coast. Thanks so much, Francis, for having joined us at the desk this morning. A pleasure having you in studio. Francis Cornegay is Senior Research Fellow at Institute for Global Dialogue.